Right, so this is what passes for democracy now in Keir Starmer's Labour Party. A deputy leadership contest where the choice is between two Starmerite clones, each competing to be the most obedient echo of their boss. Alison McGovern couldn't drum up enough support to stay in the race. Emily Thornberry was dispatched early. They'd have been no different either, of course. But Bell Ribeiro-Addy, the only candidate remotely resembling a socialist, was crushed under the 80 nomination threshold like a bug under Starmer's boot. What remains is a parade of loyalty, not politics, where the outcome will change nothing because both Bridget Phillipson and Lucy Powell, those still standing, the two remaining candidates, stand for exactly the same thing, whatever Starmer tells them to. This isn't a broad church anymore, it's a mausoleum, with socialism's corpse laid out for display. The only question is whether the mourners are finally going to walk out, because if there is one thing this contest has demonstrated above all else, it is that the Labour left no longer functionally exists, less on life support, more buried alive as it has been. Voting against Labour, therefore, is no longer about splitting the left, no matter what some commentators might say, because there is no Labour left to speak of anymore. This contest has now already proven that. Right, so Labour Party's deputy leadership contest was always expected to be a total farce, with Keir Starmer controlling every aspect of it, having rigged the candidacies of MPs going into the last general election to make sure as few left-wingers as possible made the cut. A rump of them that could be pointed to as proof that Labour was a left party still when needed, but shoved aside to all intents and purposes. Therefore, it didn't take long for this contest, triggered by the resignation of Angela Rayner, the cost of selling her soul having come due, to collapse into a parody of democracy. Alison McGovern was the favoured MP by Keir Starmer, apparently, ardent right-winger and Labour friend of Israel. She withdrew after failing to rally enough MPs, though. Emily Thornberry was also eliminated. Not much difference between either of them, both pro-Israel, of course, and very much pro-Starmer. What remained was a hollow choice, therefore, between Bridget Phillipson and Lucy Powell, two candidates so indistinguishable in politics and loyalty, and very little difference between McGovern and Thornberry either. They may as well be the same person. So this is not a contest in any meaningful sense. It's a charade. It is going to be a coronation of obedience to Starmer. Who can be the most slavishly loyal will win. Both Phillipson and Powell are members of Labour Friends of Israel, of course. Both voted for welfare retrenchment that entrenched child poverty. Both supported criminalising Palestine action. And both boast voting records that align 97 to 98% with Starmer's parliamentary line. Their duel is not between left and right at all, nor even between competing ideas of leadership, but between two courtiers competing for the king's favour. The only left-wing candidate, Bell Ribeiro-Addy, barely made it out of the starting gate. Reports put her nominations at a pitiful 15, far short of the 80 now required to secure a place on the ballot. An early tally showed her support was in single digits compared to dozens rallying to Phillipson and Powell. Polling of the membership confirmed her weakness, with a net favourability rating of -3. Says a lot for the state of the Labour Party membership these days too, doesn't it? The deputy leadership race was not merely a defeat, but a funeral for the left. The Labour left is dead and buried. Starmer's rise to the leadership in 2020 marked the beginning of the purge of socialism from Labour. The 2025 deputy leadership contest, therefore, marks the end of it. The moment the corpse got laid bare. Labour is no longer a left-wing party, folks. Get it through your heads now. No longer a broad church even, and no longer a credible home for socialism. To insist otherwise, or to warn that Corbyn and Sultana's Your Party or Zach Polansky's Green Party are splitting the left vote, to engage in Starmer's deception. One cannot split what no longer exists. Once upon a time, the deputy leadership actually mattered. John Prescott kept Tony Blair tethered as he needed to be, at least symbolically, to Labour's working class roots. Tom Watson, on the flip side of that coin, turned the office into a permanent insurrection during Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, using it to leak and to brief and to sabotage. The Labour right never accepted the Labour left, except nominally. What few lefties remain in Labour today, to my mind, actually do more harm than good, because they feed the deception with their presence. The role of deputy, therefore, love it or loathe it, was a counterweight to the leader. That tradition is now extinct. Starmer's made sure of it. He's wiped it out. The deputy leadership contest of 2025 is not about balance, it's about fealty. Phillipson and Powell are not rival visions, but mirror images of each other, both career loyalists, both products of Starmer's centralisation, both incapable of offering even the pretence of independence. Whoever wins will not be a deputy in the old sense, but a ceremonial figure, a smiling charlatan who echoes the leader's line and disciplines the party's base. The office itself has been hollowed out, stripped of its historic function. It no longer offers a platform for dissent or accountability. It's the political equivalent of a gold-plated padlock, decorative and gleaming and designed to shut down and lock out opposition. The humiliation of Bell Ribeiro-Addy is the starkest symbol of Labour's transformation. A principled socialist, as she is, rooted in the anti-war movement and vocal in her support for Palestine. Ribeiro-Addy should have been the natural standard bearer for the Labour left, an example of what Labour itself is supposed to be, but no longer is. Instead, she was crushed before the contest even began, proving that point. Her failure to secure more than a handful of MP nominations is not simply a personal setback, it's a political autopsy. In 2020, Rebecca Long-Bailey could mount a serious deputy leadership campaign, buoyed by the still potent Corbyn base. 5 years later, that base has been purged, marginalised and silenced, and this is the result. Ribeiro-Addy's collapse is proof that the parliamentary left has been reduced to rubble. And this collapse is not because socialist ideas lack resonance in the country. On the contrary, taxing wealth, scrapping that two-child benefit cap, supporting Palestine's statehood, all command broad public support. We just don't have leaders anymore who listen to us. The collapse is because Labour's internal rules have been engineered to exclude all of that. The 80 MP threshold is a fortress wall that no left candidate can possibly scale in a parliamentary party dominated by Starmer loyalists. Ribeiro-Addy's defeat was not an accident of personality, it was the intended outcome of a rigged system. And if Ribeiro-Addy represents the extinction of the left, then Phillipson and Powell represent the uniformity of what remains. Their records are not just loyal, they are damning. Bridget Phillipson has proven herself the most reliable enforcer of Starmerism. She voted for welfare reforms that kept the two-child cap in place, a policy condemned by charities as locking hundreds of thousands of children into poverty. While more than 40 Labour MPs broke ranks, Phillipson marched dutifully through the government lobbies. She also voted to prescribe Palestine action, branded activists who shut down Israeli arms factories as terrorists. On every major issue from Gaza to welfare to protest rights, she has been a cheerleader for this leadership. Lucy Powell's record is just as indistinguishable. Her voting alignment with Labour's line stands at 98%. She too voted for welfare retrenchment. She too voted to criminalise Palestine action. She too wears the badge of Labour Friends of Israel. Her politics are those of a managerial loyalist, obedient to Starmer's line and dismissive of socialism as an irrelevance. Together, Phillipson and Powell represent not rival factions but interchangeable masks of conformity. Their duel here, if you like, is a contest of two shadows to see which can cast itself more faithfully in Starmer's bland and brill-creamed shape. So what does this contest actually tell us at all then? It tells us that Labour is no longer a broad church, as they keep on claiming. The 80 MP nomination threshold serves as a drawbridge pulled up against socialism or anything remotely resembling it. Ribeiro-Addy's collapse demonstrates that the parliamentary left is extinct. Phillipson and Powell's indistinguishability demonstrates that the deputy role is now a coronation of loyalty. Starmer's ascent has long been predicted to be the death knell of the Labour Party. The deputy leadership contest is confirmation that this is still the direction things are heading in. This is not a party that tolerates dissent at all. It is not a party that contains socialism or will tolerate it. It's a machine for loyalty, purged of alternative voices, locked into conformity, hollowed out of any sign of hope. It's Starmer's way or the highway. There's no room for anything else. So unless you're a Starmer fanboy, and if that's you, please examine your life choices, there's no reason for you to ever back this party again. And yet amidst this wreckage, Labour loyalists and sympathetic journalists chant the familiar mantra, beware of splitting the left vote. Support Corbyn and Sultan as your party, they warn, or Polanski's Greens, and you will hand power to the Conservatives, or Reform, blackmail as that is. This refrain is now more dishonest than ever before. It rests on the fiction that Labour still contains a left to be split. The deputy leadership contest demonstrates beyond doubt that it does not. Labour's parliamentary party is purged, its rules are rigged, its leadership backs welfare cuts and criminalises Palestine solidarity as they stand victims of genocide that also goes denied. To call this a left party is an insult to the very meaning of the word. Accusing genuine left alternatives of splitting the left is just gaslighting. It is an attempt to chain left-wing voters to a party that has expelled them, to bully them into compliance with the threat of Tory or Farage rule. The deputy race explodes this lie. Labour cannot be split from the left because it no longer has one that matters. If Labour is no longer a left-wing party, the question then becomes unavoidable, doesn't it? Where should the left go then? The most immediate home right now is the Green Party under Zach Polanski. Since his election as leader, Polanski has injected energy and clarity into the party's politics. The membership has surged to record-breaking levels. He's out on the streets all the time, talking to ordinary working-class people. He's getting around the mainstream media's ongoing blackout of left-wing voices by operating an already very successful podcast, even after just 2 shows. He has been unapologetically pro-Palestine, outspoken against welfare cuts, and firm in demanding climate justice. Under his leadership, the Greens have become more than an environmental pressure group. They've become a credible home for disillusioned socialists. Another potential poll is Corbyn and Sultana's Your Party. Its launch, though, has been frustratingly slow for a great many people, dragging its feet at the very moment the momentum is needed, though Polanski is offering a clear alternative to that. But the symbolism of a Corbyn-led party remains powerful, doesn't it? Activists still look to him as a figure of integrity, and Zara Sultana carries the hopes of a younger generation of radicals. There's a groundswell of activists speaking out in favour of a new left party. If Corbyn and Sultana can translate that enthusiasm into organisational reality, if they can get their act together, your party could become a formidable force. But even if they don't, Polanski stands as a perfectly credible alternative to that now. The left have real options for once, actually. They actually have choice here. But they aren't in Labour. The 2025 deputy leadership contest is not a routine election, it's actually a revelation. It reveals the extinction of the Labour left as having happened, as being nailed on. The hollowing out of the deputy role and the triumph of Starmer's purge. Ribeiro-Addy's humiliation shows that socialism is structurally excluded and functionally dead. Phillipson and Powell's identical loyalty shows that dissent is impossible and conformity to Starmer is the only possible outcome now. The 80 MP threshold shows that the system is rigged. Labour is no longer a left-wing party. To claim otherwise or to accuse the Greens or your party of splitting the left is to engage in that deception and more fool you. The left has been expelled. Its future lies elsewhere now, in Polanski's Greens, in the potential of your party, and in the movements for justice that refuse to bow to Labour's conformity. The deputy leadership contest is the obituary of socialism inside Labour. The only question left open, the one the left must answer themselves urgently now, is whether this obituary marks the end of socialist politics in Britain or the beginning of something new. Because if it's going to be something new, then it has to happen elsewhere. For more on the explosiveness and massive mandate won by Zach Polanski in his victory in the Green Party leadership nearly 2 weeks ago now, do check out this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. If you are sick of waiting for Corbyn and Sultana but still aren't convinced by the Greens, it's definitely worth a watch, I feel. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping to support the channel at the same time, which is very much appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people. I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.